Year he. It's your girl Cassie King, and I am coming to you live in the color, honey. Make sure that you guys are grabbing your snacks, some drinks, and some snuggy wuggies because we about to get into some tea, child. Okay, so going ahead and come on in. Everybody get comfortable and cozy because we're gonna go ahead and pick up where we left off. If you guys are seeing this beautiful face, make sure you double tap that screen, like, share, support me. I'll support you. My mom always told me that fair exchange ain't no robbery. Okay, so sometimes we do have to check the vitals of people, making sure if they're warm or cold. But at the end of the day, we are here to get a tea. Okay. So I'm gonna let you guys come on in, get comfortable, get situated, and then we'll go on ahead and get started. Now, don't come for the queen because I know that I was late when I got here. I knew that. You ain't gotta tell me I'm late. I knew I was late when I got here. Okay, I'll be on CP time, number one, and number two, guys. My baby, he was really sick. Okay, so I had to try to make some adjustments because I know that I made a commitment to come and see you guys today. So I wanted to stand on business. Amen. Amen. So go on ahead and double tap that screen, like. Come on in, come on in. We're gonna pick up where we left off. So now, on our last meeting, guys, we did go over a couple of highlights on the story with Moses. Again, I made a number of highlights. So if you guys did miss that party, if you were unable to attend for whatever reason, it's okay. Your girl got you. Head on over to my YouTube, or you can also go over to my TikTok, and I have a couple of clips for those with short attention spans. No shade. Okay. So again, we're gonna go ahead and get started, guys. Come on in, come on in. Thank you guys so much for coming in today. You know that I love you guys. We're going to pick up where we left off. We're going to head into the book of Joshua. Okay, so if you are new here, it's your girl Cassie King. I'm coming to you live and in color. We go over a number of things here, but majority of what we discuss at our Bible tea parties is obviously the Bible. So we're actually starting from the beginning to end. So right now we gotten through Genesis all the way up to Joshua. So if you missed anything, it's okay. Just head over to my YouTube, Cassie King, and then you'll be able to see that information. If you have a short attention span and you don't like to sit and watch through a long video and things like that, that's okay. I got you as well. Go on ahead and head over to TikTok, which is my Cassie King with the letter X at the end. And you'll be able to go and see some sneak peeks and clips of what we like to discuss and the inside scoop on some of the Bible stories that I give. This is entertainment purposes only, as well as educational for those who are interested in this kind of information in terms of the Bible and everything like that. Now, guys, I am so happy that we've gotten this far. We have had a number of hiccups, but you guys have been loyal to the soil with me. And so I want to thank you guys for supporting me since day one. I am bringing in other platforms as well so that we can reach as many viewers as we want. So those of you that have been here since day one, I just want to let you guys know that I do love you and I do appreciate you guys. Now, once again, if you are seeing this beautiful face, double tap that screen. I did it for you. Okay? All right. All right, guys. So we are going to now go ahead and get started. Where we left off was with our book of Moses. Okay. So if those of you that are just coming in, if you don't know, then you need to head over and catch up because I can't recap everything every time. But okay, Moses freed the Israelites. He went through a number of things. He also did a number of warnings. That is very relevant in today's time. We also went over a number of miracles that were accomplished, as well as some of the journeys that they had to take, and how hard-headed they was, and how trifling they was, and what was done to them for being hard-headed and trifling. Okay, so when they were being disobedient, how God handled those people back in the good old days before Jesus came. And that's why I said thank you, Jesus, because if you guys need to know what the tea is on that, it was tea, honey. And God wasn't doing no playing. Okay, so we have went through that journey. We were able to see how Moses elevated from being a timid, guilty man to a confident man who began to sing and rejoice for the name of the Lord. And he also was able to complete so many miracles even after they were free from Egypt. Okay, but he did do some things that caused God to tell him he wasn't even ready. He couldn't even go and see the promised land because he did make some minor mistakes. And at the end of the day, we got to pay for what we do, regardless of being prophets, chosen ones, etc., etc. So we get to the point to where Moses turns about 120 years old. That's when his journey ends, and he gives the baton to the big homie Joshua. So that's where we are today. We're going to get into Joshua's story. I am so happy that you guys are coming in during the Joshua story, especially if you guys are some newcomers. My baby's in the back. If there are any newcomers, y'all make sure that they feel welcome and nice, and share y'all snacks because they don't know that I do not supply food. That's not what I do here. I'm here to look pretty. So y'all share y'all snacks with the newcomers, and also let me know what kind of snacks you're eating so that way we can make sure that they are blessed. Okay. Now, last night I had made some salsa with some tacos and stuff like that. So today, what I'm having for snacks is some chips and salsa. So you guys share in the comments now what you guys are having in your snacks, and so the newcomers can have something to snack on while we get into this tea. Okay, so before we get into the word, we are going to do a quick prayer just to bless the word and make sure that we're doing things the right way. I definitely feel like that's necessary, that we need to do that from now on. So bow your head. You too. I don't care if you're a neutral or non-believer, everybody get the bowing. Alrighty, Father God, thank you so much for giving this time to come together as a community. As we go into the Bible, let us be able to be vigilant, understanding, and free to your word. In the name of Jesus, allow us to be protected during this time. Any of those that are suffering with anything that they may be suffering, allow them to be healed now in the name of Jesus. Amen. Thank you guys so much for coming in. Double tap that screen, share, like. If you share my information, I will share your information. My mama told me fair exchange ain't no robbery. Okay, so in our last video, we did do the intro, but I do feel the need to do the intro again. Okay. All right. And I do want to let you guys know in advance that I do have a number of visitors that are down the hall on the other side of the house. But if you guys hear a little bit of noise, please bear with me on that. I am still working on some new equipment. Okay. So that's why I told y'all, if you bless me, the Lord will surely bless you. That way we don't have any distractions. Y'all work with your girl. Work with your girl. Okay. But I will be upgrading my equipment very soon, so that way any noise in the back does not affect my babies. Not my babies. Not my babies. Okay. And if you guys wanted to go over what we discussed, and you guys want to specifically go over a specific book in the Bible or a scripture or whatever, if you want me to elaborate on something specific to you, then let me know directly, message me or whatever. We can always do that. We can get down with the get down. Amen. Yeah, friend. Yes. All right. So let me go on ahead and pull it up, and we're going to go in with the intro, and then we'll go ahead and get into this tea. Now, I'm going to let you guys know, I know that y'all don't like when I do that, but I did take a quick peek into the book of Joshua just to see if it was given what it needed gave, because y'all know how I felt about Moses. I wasn't ready to see him go. Okay. All right. Alrighty, so Joshua intro. Okay. Now, the Israelites had already traveled for 40 years in the desert while Moses was their leader. Okay. All the men that God had brought out of Egypt had passed away at this point. Moses had passed away as well now, and God had chosen Joshua to be their leader. He was one of the 12 men who had gone to look at Canaan, the land that God had promised to give the Israelites. He and Caleb had not been afraid of the people who lived there, and he trusted God to help him. Okay, the 10 other men had been afraid too, so he was like one of the only 12 men. I think it was another one, which was Caleb. Okay, so Caleb and Joshua was the only ones that were fearless. Okay, and you can see that back in Numbers 14. And God would not let Moses himself go across the Jordan River into Canaan because they had their own little situation going on. So there was going to have to be a new um, man in charge, a new leader. Okay, so Joshua was the person that God wanted to lead the Israelites into the land that would be their new home. Okay, so the name Joshua means God saves, and so does the name Jesus, also means the same. Okay, which means God saves. Okay, so that's an ism for you. If you ever wanted to know what Jesus meant, that's what it meant, God saves. Okay, the book of Joshua tells how God helped his people to make their home into Canaan, and it also tells how God stopped the water in the river Jordan, and then it also goes into the Israelites could go across into Canaan, and it tells how the Israelites won many battles. So we are going to get into some tea on a lot of war in this book. So trigger warning for any of those that have been affected by war. First of all, thank you so much for your service, regardless if you are in the U.S. or not. Thank you for your service. You guys are not admired enough. But we're going to go into a lot of that and how Joshua was doing his big one when it came to war and everything like that to do the Lord's work. Okay. Now it also shows what that God did, what He promised for His people. So what He said He was going to do, He did do. Yes, He did. Yes, He did. And so we're going to go into that. So I told y'all, I had already told you guys, I don't know why y'all be playing with me. I had already told you guys that, I was kind of nervous about Joshua replacing Moses because over time I had just really got attached to the Moses character. And so I was like, I don't know if Joshua can do his big one like Moses. I don't know if he can do it. So, y'all, when I was getting ready to come and meet up with you guys in the morning and I scheduled our meeting, I did take a quick little peek, just a little peek, just a little peek. I took a little peek and it's giving. It's giving. Remember, I told you, I said, I don't know, I might just get better and better. It get better and better. Joshua was that man. Mm, 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 mm. Yes. So let me double check something really quick because I wanted to ask. I think. Hold on. Hold on, guys. Let me double check something real quick because I meant to ask. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. Okay. So when I was going through some things, obviously we know that Joshua is one of Joseph's descendants. Okay. Now y'all know. Hold on. Let me before we get into Joshua's story. If you are barely coming in and you haven't been at any of the other Bible tea parties, then you need to go ahead and check them out because y'all know that Joseph, he ran all of Egypt. Okay, all of it. Before that, he ran the whole prison. Okay. And he wanted his descendants. Now, y'all hush. Don't be doing all that talking while I'm talking. I'm not the one or the two. Don't come over here playing in this house. Another thing was, y'all know Levi and Simon, how they only them two, how they conquered that whole city by themselves. Now listen, I'm trying to give you guys an idea of who Joshua is and who his people was and why it's given what it's gave. Because this man is not come, he did not come to play. He did not come to play. And I thought that it was with Moses. Now, you know, Moses was on the run and everything like that. So I was like, who is this little, this new guy, and he young, whatever the case may be. But y'all remember, when Moses was freeing everybody and they was traveling and everything, he sent those 12 men, and the 12 men came back, and Joshua and Caleb was like, it's good over there. I don't know why y'all scared, because we got God. He was like, we went over there and we could really whoop on them if we want to. And so they had already went by themselves. They was not scared. It was only 10 of them. Well, actually, the other 10, it was only 12 of them, but 10 of them outside of Joshua and Caleb, they was a little scary. But so that just got to give you an idea that Joshua is not scary at all. He ain't scary. He willing to get down with the get down. Okay. So the Lord has said to Joshua, Moses, my servant, is passed on now. He said, now you and all these people must get ready to go across the Jordan River. He said, lead the people of Israel into the land that I am giving them. So God himself told this to Joshua, like, it's your time to go ahead, pick up the baton and do your big one. He told them to be strong, don't be afraid, and just get the wiggling and do what you need to do. And so Joshua went on ahead. He started picking up where Moses left off, and he just started getting down with the get down. Now y'all remember Reuben, which is Joseph's oldest brother. Now he was the only one that even wanted to help Joseph, but that's just me doing a sidebar. His descendants, they was their tribes and stuff. They had leaders and stuff. So anyway, Joshua commanded the leaders of all the people to go through all the places where the people live, to tell them to get food ready for the journey. And in 3 days, remember guys, we want to focus on the numbers. In 3 days, okay, you'll go across the Jordan River. You'll begin to take the land for yourself. And this land is the land that the Lord your God is ready to give to you. So he already ready to get down with the get down. He talking to the people like he been doing this his whole life. He was already ready. You remember Moses? He was like, I don't know how to talk. Joshua was like, I talk. Joshua was like, I'll do it. Yeah, Joshua, he was ready. He was ready to be next in line. Okay. So boom. Now, if you guys want to know how Joshua was initiated into being the new leader of the Israelites, that's Joshua 1. You hear what God told him and what he told told the other leaders. Okay. If you are seeing this beautiful face, make sure you double tap that screen, like, share. And I'll do the same for you. You guys know fair exchange ain't no robbery. Double tap that screen, like, gift, and everything else. Because again, guys, I am a mother. So I want to be able to get the equipment that I need so that you guys are not interrupted. I'm not interrupted, or there's no distractions. I want to be able to make sure that I treat you guys the way that you deserve, which is my undivided attention. And I also want to make sure that you guys can concentrate and we don't have any riff-raff in the background. Okay? All right. So, boom. In Joshua 2, Joshua sent 2 men to go and spy. Okay. He sent them in secret to see what the land was like, to see what it's given. Okay. He said, go look at the land, look very carefully, and look at Jericho City. When they came to Jericho City, they arrived at a house with a prostitute. And her name was Rahab. If I'm saying that right, that's Rahh as in Hillary, B as in Bravo. And they stayed at the prostitute house while they were spying. The 2 men that Joshua sent over there. Yup. And she was with it too. She was with it. She had already knew what their reputation was. She had already knew about God. She already knew what God was capable of. And she was like, I'm not taking no chance. She respected those men and she hid those men. So don't worry about what your life was, because you can go from rags to riches like that. All you got to do is help the right person. So the king's officer, they went out to the city to try to find the 2 Israelite men that came over there to spy. So they went along the road of the Jordan River to the place where the road goes across the river. As soon as they had left, the people shut the city gate. All right. So Rahab, she went up to the roof of her house and she spoke to the men as they prepared to sleep. So they getting ready to go to sleep because they over there, they hiding, they about to get ready to spy so they could tell Joshua what is given, because they finna get ready to go to war and it's about to go down. They finna throw their dukes up. Throw your dukes up. We here. What you thought it was, what it is and what it ain't, and where your mama at. Wake that up. Clock it. And she had told him, she said, I know that the Lord has given you this land. She said, everyone here is afraid of you Israelites. She said, everyone lives in this land frightened. We already scared. She said, we heard how the Lord caused the water of the Red Sea to become dry. She said, in that way, he brought you out of Egypt. She said, we heard about what y'all did to Sean and Og. She said that the 2 kings of the Amorites. She said, we heard how y'all destroyed them completely. She said, we heard what y'all did and we are very afraid. She said, we scared of y'all. She said, we know that we are not strong enough to fight against you because the Lord your God is God. She said he rules everything on heaven and earth. She said, now please, now to help y'all, and I believe in y'all God. Okay. Now I done helped y'all. And I know that y'all crazy. And I know that y'all got God with y'all. And I know that y'all ain't come here to play. And I know what y'all capable of. And what your God is capable of. But let me ask you something real quick since I'm helping you. She said, so promise me that you will be kind to my family and show that you will certainly do what you have promised. She said, when you guys attack this city, do not unalive my family. She said, save the lives of my father, my mother, my brothers and sisters, and all their families. Please. Please. Because we know what y'all gonna do. Yeah, that prostitute was like, well, let me use this to my advantage because I already know what's going down. They already knew that they was going to come over there and do that before they got there. She was like, oh, here they come. Here they come. So don't think about it. If you she was a whore. And, oh, he used to he known for he on the run from murder. Oh, he don't even know how to talk good. And just like when they talk about Jesus, talk, oh, his daddy ain't nothing but a carpenter. He ain't know about. You gotta watch how y'all be talking because it don't matter what your life take in. If you help the right person. Because if you bless somebody that need to be blessed, that'll be your biggest blessing is to be a blessing in somebody else's life. Wake that up. And if you talk while I'm talking one more time, I'm gonna call your mama. Where your mama at? Quit doing this. Pay attention. No, ain't nobody getting, let them sit down. Ain't nobody getting kicked out. No, you gonna sit down and you gonna hush. Sorry about y'all. Sorry about that, y'all. We got some newcomers thinking that they could do this. They must ain't met Cassie King. They must ain't met Cassie King. Huh? I didn't come to play with you. Quit playing. Sit down. And don't be looking at my kitchen. Now we gonna give them some time to get their life together because I didn't come to play. And close that door. Close that door. But yeah. So, okay. When it comes to this former prostitute, she went from rags to riches real quick because she was able to help the Israelites that came to spy on her city and her people. And she said, well, since I helped you, you need to help us, and you need to promise me you're gonna do it because I know that your people, when y'all make promises, y'all gotta keep them because y'all got God, and that's one of y'all commandments that you're not supposed to fall back on your word. I said she ain't. Mm-hmm. A prostitute helped save the Israelites conquer what they needed to conquer at this time. So the man said to her, they said, if you do what we say, we'll do if you do what we say, we'll do what we have promised. They said, we will soon attack this land. So tie this red string in the window, and that way we can come through. She said, they said, bring your father, your mother, your brothers and sisters, and all your family into your house. If any of them leave your house, they may be unalive. He said, if that happens, we will not be guilty. It ain't going to be our fault. He said, we will only be guilty if our soldiers hurt anyone else in this house, okay? But if you tell anyone about us, we do not have to do what we promised you. So keep your word and we'll keep ours. Okay, friend? And she said, and now I'm not lying. I'm going to give y'all the receipts. I got receipts. I'm not lying. And she said, Rahab, she said, I agree with you and what you said. She said, she sent them away, and when they had gone, she tied that red string out her window, child, and she was confident in their word. She kept her word. Sure did. Sure did. And they said, we are sure that the Lord has given us this whole land, and all the people there are very frightened of us. And if y'all want to catch where that T is at, that's going to be Joshua 2. Okay. And if you guys want to know about what was said and what was not said, you're going to read Joshua 2. Go ahead, read the whole thing. So early that next morning, Joshua and all the Israelites, they had left Smitten. and they put their tents beside the Jordan River, and then they waited to go across the Jordan River. Now, y'all remember how Moses has split that sea? This is basically something very similar as well. So Joshua, he had that ism from Moses, and he went on ahead and picked up them traits, and he was very confident with it, and it was given. Okay, I see you, Fred. Yes, it was given. It definitely was given. Hey, Brew, thank you so much for coming in. I'm so happy that you came. If you are a newcomer, welcome, welcome, welcome. Everybody is welcome to the table. This is a free and safe space. Double tap that screen if you are seeing my beautiful face. Don't be a hater. So Joshua said to the people, he said, make yourselves ready to serve the Lord at his holy people. He said, tomorrow the Lord will do great miracles among you. He said to the priest, pick up the covenant box, okay, and carry it in front of the people. So they picked it up and they went in front of the people. Then the Lord said to Joshua, today I will begin to make all the Israelite people respect you. They will know that I am with you in the same way that I was with Moses. He said, the priests are carrying the covenant box, must go to the shore of the Jordan River. Tell them to go into the water and stand there. Now, if you guys need to know what the covenant box is, then you need to head over to my YouTube and catch up on it. But basically, this was the holy box of promises. It was the God's promise box that the priest Aaron, which was Moses' brother, which was the first priest that ever lived, who made the during their time had made the covenant box, which is basically a promise box for God, which is very holy, sacred symbolism that they take to be protected during wars, etc. Okay, so the Israelite people prepared to leave their tents. The priests carried the covenant box towards the Jordan River, and the people followed them. It was a time of harvest, and there was a lot of water coming down the river. But when the priests reached the shore of the river with the covenant box and their feet touched the water, guess what happened? That water stopped. Stop, friend. I said, okay, it's given. Split the Red Sea. It was given. Okay. Okay. So the priest stood in the middle of the river on dry ground and the Lord's covenant box. While they stood there, all the Israelite people was able to walk across the river on dry ground. In this way, the whole nation arrived on the other side of the river. So they didn't have to do no going around and all of that. They went straight through. And as long as them priests had that covenant box and they stood where God told them to stand, there was no being washed up. You ain't gonna get washed up. No, boo boo. You're not going to get washed up because why? You're listening and you're following commands of your leader and you are being respectful and you have the the box of promises with the Lord. So when God tell you to go and do something, you stand in the middle of the river, you talk about this is a river. You want me to stand in the middle of the river? Yes, I want you to stand in the middle of the river and watch it dry up. Okay? Don't play with it. Don't play with it. Wake it up. Clock it where your mama at. Where is your mother? Yes, friend. And if you think I'm lying, you're going to head over to Joshua 3. Read the whole thing. And don't be looking at my kitchen. Now, the Israelites in Joshua 4, they take 12 stones as a symbolism of this miracle happening. Comment down below if there's any questions so far. Comment down below if there's any questions so far. Okay. Now, at this point, they had gone across the river. So Joshua chose 12 men from the people on each tribe. He said, pick up 12 stones in the middle of the river, take them from the place where the priests were standing, carry the stones with you to the shore, put them in the place where you stay tonight. So Joshua called 12 men and did that. That's what God told him to do. He did it. So the 12 men obeyed Joshua's command. They took 12 stones in the middle of the Jordan River as the Lord had told Joshua, and there was one stone for each Israelite tribe that went across that river. By the time they was trying to get across that river, it was dirt, it was ground, it was dry land. Yes, God does the impossible. We already know this, friend. We already know this. Y'all need to wake it up. Y'all need to stop acting like y'all don't know this by now. If you're just coming in, then I'm not talking to you. So again, there was 12 stones in symbolism of 12 tribes getting across that Jordan River, and was a nation of people. And Joshua already had all this pull. Moses hadn't even been gone that long, and Joshua already had all this pull on these people. They trusted him. Sometimes you got to put your trust in a strong man. Sometimes you got to put your trust in a strong man. Or a strong whoa man. Whoa man. Whoa man. So the priests had carried the covenant box into the middle of the river. They stood there while the people did everything that the Lord had told Joshua. And this is what Moses had also told Joshua as well. So Moses had put Joshua on before. If you guys missed that part, Moses had already put Joshua up on game on what it was and what it ain't, what to do and how to do it. And sometimes we need our elders, and sometimes we need our older people to sit us down and put us up on game, and we need to get that ism. And so in this case, Joshua, he took heed to what Moses said, because they respected Moses, and Moses lived a very long life. So he was like, okay. And he took it to heart, and he wanted to make sure that he was able to honor Moses and the Lord. So about 40,000 men who had weapons went across the flat land near Jericho. They marched past the Lord's covenant box. Okay? The day that the Lord caused all the Israelite people to respect Joshua, they respected him all his life as they respected Moses. All right? So the Lord said to Joshua, tell the priests who are carrying the covenant box, come on up out of the Jordan River. So Joshua told the priests, come on about the Jordan River. So the priests came up out of there, and they were carrying the Lord's covenant box. As soon as their feet touched the dry ground on the shore, the water of the Jordan River ran again. It started to come back. There was so much water that it made a flood like before. So it's going to tell you how high it was. On the 10th day of the first month, the people left the shore of the Jordan River. They put up their tents at the place called Gilgal, Gilgal. Go head over to your Bible, Joshua 4, verse 19. You figure out how to say it. I'm not your mama. All right, so that was on the east side of Jericho City. And Joshua made a heap with 12 stones that they already taken out of the Jordan River. And he said to the Israelite people, in future years, your children will ask you, what do these stones mean? And then you must tell them, we the Israelites went across the Jordan River on dry ground. Yes, you have seen what the Lord your God has done. He made the Jordan River become dry. So then you can go across it. That was like basically what he said was basically this is very much similar to the Red Sea. So you can go across it when you left Egypt. All right. So the Lord has done this so that all of the nations of the world can see how powerful he is. And he did that so you will always obey him, the Lord your God. Let's put a pin real quick. Pause. Y'all think they're gonna still listen after he dried up that river for them? Y'all think they're gonna not turn on Joshua? What y'all think? Y'all think they're gonna follow God's commands and make sure that they don't get the worshiping false idols and stuff like that? What y'all think? Y'all let me know. Because after what they did to Moses, if they do something to Joshua, I'm gonna want to. Ooh, where Jesus when you need it. Anyway, we're moving over to Joshua 5. If you guys want to go catch that tea where Joshua basically created another version of the Red Sea being split, but at this time it was actual, basically the river was dried up. And when the priest moved away from the river with that covenant box, the river became so full that it looked like a flood. You understand? Am I hey, boo? You late? But it's okay. I was late too. I'm okay. Thank you so much for coming in, boo boo. Double tap that screen. I'm gonna call you later. Yeah, that's one of my babies. All right. So y'all remember when Joshua back in those days with Jacob and Abraham and everybody else and everything like that, they had to circumcise their boys as an offering to the Lord. That's how the Israelite people were. And remember how Dinah's brothers manipulated them other people into doing it too, so that they could weaken them in and conquer them or whatever. So yeah, that's a part of their culture. So Joshua made sure that he kept up with that culture of circumcising the men at Gilgal or Gilgal. I don't know how to say that. So he went on ahead and did that as well, just keeping up that tradition and that way of offering as well. Yeah, I got you. I got you, Amon. I got you. You know it. You know it. We here with it. We here with it. So after he did the offering with circumcising all the men, then that is when um Joshua meets the captain of the Lord's of God's army. I said, ooh. Now y'all know Moses used to have one-on-one conversations with God in person and everything, and he was coming back down there with his face all lit up. I said, ooh, Joshua, what's fit to happen? So while Joshua was near Jericho, a man appeared to him. Joshua looked up there and he was like, are you here to help or is you a op? And the man said, neither. I'm the captain of the Lord's army. Now I'm here. So Joshua was like, ooh. He fell on the ground and worshiped the man. He said, sir, I'm your servant. Tell me what I should do. And the captain of the Lord's army said, remove your shoes from your feet. You are standing on holy ground. And Joshua did that. I said, y'all know that you can't be just getting into the Lord's presence with your shoes on. And I don't know what household y'all grew up in, but in my mama household, and even with my older aunts and my grandpa and them, we wasn't just running around the house with no shoes on. We didn't play in our school clothes. Okay, so I think that's a lot of when it comes to certain cultures and certain families. I think that's where that come from. But yes, Joshua finna start getting that ism from God Himself. And let me know if you guys have any questions so far. Let me know. 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 So again, Joshua was with it. He was like, is you with me or is you against me? Because we can get it in right now. He was like, excuse me, I am the captain of the Lord's army. Come up out them shoes, bruh. Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, yes. And if you think I'm lying, you're going to go ahead and head over to Joshua 5. Read the whole thing. Because I'm not sure what version you guys are going to be picking up to. Also, sidebar really quickly for those that are just coming in, for the neutral and the non-believers, go ahead, sit down, take a seat. Knowledge is key. Don't play with me. Don't play with it. Don't play with it. If you have a problem with reading, or if reading is not your strongest talent, then you'll download the U version app, the Bible U version app, and you'll be able to select different versions. And if you are one of those people that maybe you have Alexa or whatever case may be, then you can go ahead and choose the easy version. And even a fourth grader, third grader can read it. And it's really, really user friendly. So that's the version I'm reading to you guys, so that I can say it in the most simplest terms as well, because we have a number of viewers that come in, and I want to make sure that everything makes sense, and I want to be able to tell you what it is and what it ain't. So Joshua 6, this is when things start getting juicy. God gives Jericho city to the Israelites. Okay. So the people of Jericho, they had shut the gates of their city to make it safe. So they call themselves trying to shut things down, closing their little raggedy gates. Okay. No one could go in or out of the city. So, because who you thought you was gonna close your little raggedy gate, try to close your little gate, thinking that somebody wasn't gonna come up in there. No, this is ours now. Wake it up. Double tap that screen if you're seeing my beautiful face. You see it. Don't be a hater. Share. Head over to my YouTube, subscribe. And if you bless me, the Lord will surely bless you. Fair exchange ain't no robbery. I always get back to all of my babies. I'm gonna tell them. Okay. So the Lord said to Joshua, I will soon give Jericho to you. I will put its king and all of its brave soldiers under your power. Okay. So God told Joshua, He said, you and all your soldiers must march the city once each day for 6 days. 7 priests will walk in front of the covenant box. They will carry trumpets as they walk. And on the seventh day, you and your soldiers must march around the city 7 times at the same time. And the priests will blow into their trumpets. So again, y'all already know God said, I'm about to give y'all this city. Now, this is what I need y'all to do for me. And do it in that order. In that order. Yes, okay. Because who did you think it was? You thought he was just going to do it for free? No. There were specific things and specific tasks that the priest, Joshua, and the soldiers all had to follow. They had to follow these tasks that God had gave them, specifically and in that order. So they went on ahead and did that. Joshua Made sure that the men were able to do it that way. And then Joshua said to the two men that went to the prostitute's house, Rahab, they had said, go, he said, go to her house, bring her out with all her family who are in there. And that's what y'all promised her. So the young man who had been looked at the city, went to her house, and they brought her and her family out. And that was her father, her mother, and her brothers, and all who belonged to her. And they took them to a place that was near the Israelites' tents. So they kept their word with her. So the prostitute went from rags to riches. She was able to redeem her life and her lifestyle. And she was also able to save not only her immediate family, but also everyone that belonged to her that was ready to ride, that was also at her crib. Okay? So boom, it get to getting ignorant. Joshua was not playing. Child, they done went and burnt the whole city and everything that was in it. They stored the gold, silver, bronze, iron, and things with the Lord's valuable things, okay? But Joshua kept Rahab safe, as well as her family and everyone who belonged to her. Rahab had hidden the men that Joshua sent to find out about the Jericho city. Because she did that, her family still lives among the Israelites even to this day. To this day. Okay. And at the time, Joshua made a strong promise. He said, if anyone tries to build Jericho again, the Lord will punish him as a guilty man. When he starts to build, the older son will be unalived. When he puts up the city's gates, the younger son will be unalived. So the Lord was with Joshua to help him, and Joshua became very famous everywhere in the land. I bet he was. I bet he did. You know, it's giving Abraham low key. If y'all don't know who Abraham is, then you're going to have to go all the way to part 2. So, if you guys want to catch the tea on what I just went over with you guys now, was Joshua 6. And if you guys want to know about where it says how they helped out with the Rahab lady, you're going to go to Joshua 6, verse 22 through 27. Okay, guys? Now go on ahead and catch that tea. It don't matter where you came from. It only matter where you're going. So boom. Now we are in Joshua 7. Things get a little tricky. Things get a little special. Things get a little touched. So y'all remember, let's go back. Y'all know how they had burned everybody and there was a lot of unalived situations happening because now the war has been initiated and started with the trumpets, with the walking around 7 times, with the men doing what they needed to do, with the priests doing what they needed to do. Okay. Now, there was a lot of gold, there was a lot of bronze, there was a lot of iron with the Lord's valuable things. Okay. Now, what they were supposed to do with those things, one wasn't supposed to do nothing until the Lord said what they could do with it. Okay. The Israelites did not obey what Joshua had said about the valuable things that belong to God. Okay. So Achan, which is Achan, took some of those things for himself. He was Kamari's son, who was the son of Zimri, who was the son of Zerah, and or Zerah. and they belong to the tribe of Judah, which is one of Joseph's brothers. And the Lord was very, very angry with the Israelites yet once again. Oh my gosh, really? I can't believe it. So Joshua sent some men from Jericho. This is the city near Ben Aven and east of Bethel. And he said to the men, go up and look at the land near there secretly. So the men went to see what they could discover. Then the men came back and they said to Joshua, there are not many men in Ai or which is Ai. Do not send the whole army to attack it. 2,000 or 3,000 men will be enough to take the city. So about 3,000 Israelite men went to attack Ai, but the men of Ai made them run away. They chased the Israelites away from the gate of the city, and they unalived about 36 Israelite soldiers. They chased them down the hill as far as Shebarim. They unalived the Israelites as they ran down the hill. When the people of Israel heard this, they became very frightened. They said, wait a minute, I thought that the Lord was supposed to make us strong. I didn't know anybody was fit to be unalived. What's going on? What happened? Now, y'all remember about the song? Do y'all remember God's song? Y'all remember the song? When God said, okay, when I leave you, I'm going to say, where them false prophets at? When I leave you, y'all gonna start getting whooped in war. You just obey me. Obey me. Okay. Don't be stealing my stuff. Don't be stealing my gold and stuff. I'll give it to you when I get ready to give it to you. Okay. He said, I'll give it to you when I get ready to give it to you. So Joshua, he was so upset about this because he was like, why did people get unalive during this? I thought that, like, what's going on? So he stayed there until the evening time trying to figure out what's going on with God, okay? So he fell on his face on the ground in front of the Lord's covenant box, and he stayed there until the evening time together with the Israelite leaders, and they all put dirt on their heads. And Joshua said, he said, Almighty Lord, why do you ever bring us all the way over the Jordan River? Did you bring us here so that the Amorites could destroy us? It would have been better for us to stay on the other side of Jordan. Now our army has had to run away from our enemies. He said, Lord, there is nothing for me to say. He said, the Canaanites and their tribes who live in this land will hear about what has happened, and they'll come to attack us, and they'll completely destroy us. If that happens, nobody will ever respect your great name again. God said, boy, get up off that floor. Why is you on the floor? Get up off the ground. He said Israel had did something bad. He said they did not obey my command of the covenant what I made with them. He said they had taken for themselves some of the valuable things that belong to me. He said they have taken them, and they tried to deceive me. They have hidden them among their own things. He said this is why the Israelites is running away from their enemies. They themselves must now be destroyed because they belong to me. He said, if you want me to continue to help you, you must destroy everything that belongs to me. He said, you should not have taken those valuable things for yourself. Now get up off that floor and tell the people themselves to make themselves clean. He said, make yourselves ready. Tomorrow you will come to stand in front of me. I, the Lord God of Israel, tell you, Israelite people, you have kept some of the things that I told you to destroy. You will not win against your enemies until you remove those things. And Joshua sitting up there getting on the floor, crying, talking about, I thought you said, why would you? No. Ball head, get up off that floor. Somebody over there that did something I told them not to do. And until they do what I told them to do, it ain't going to be no winning no war. Now go over there and go figure it out and figure out who over there lying. Y'all remember who it was? It was Ashan. Ashan was supposed to destroy some of those things, but instead he kept some stuff for himself. Why would you do that when you already know that God is going to give you a whole promised land? Why would you do that if you already know that God is giving you a land and helping you conquer everything? If you wanted some gold, you was going to get some gold. You just need to wait. Why is you being hard-headed? You know what I'm saying? So early the next morning, Joshua told the tribes to come and stand in front of the Lord. They came one at a time. The Lord chose the tribe of Judah. The clans of the tribe of Judah came one clan at a time. The Lord chose Zariah's clan, and families from Zariah's clan, they came one family at a time, so forth and so forth. So on and so forth, okay? Then Joshua said to Ashan, my son, I tell you the truth. To show that you respect the Lord, Israel's God, tell me what you've done and do not lie. Don't try to lie. And Ashan said, it's true. He said, I did something bad. He said, this is what I did. He said, I found a beautiful coat from Babylon. I found 200 silver coins and a piece of gold that weighed a half a kilogram. He said, and I wanted them so much that I took it for myself and I hid it on the ground in my tent. He said, the silver coins are under the other things. Joshua said, bruh, come on now. Really? Why you want these nice things so bad? So Joshua sent some of the men to go to Achan's tent. When they were there, they found the things that Achan had hidden, the silver coins. They were under the things. The men took the things out from the tent. They brought them to Joshua and all of the other Israelites. And then they put them on the ground in front of the Lord. Then Joshua and all the people of Achan, the son of Zerah, and the silver coins, the coat, and the heavy piece of gold. They also took his sons, his daughters, his cows, sheep, and donkeys. They took all his things to Archer Valley. Joshua said, why did you cause so much trouble to come to us? The Lord will certainly give you trouble today. Then all the Israelites threw stones at him until he was unalived. They also unalived his family and burned all the bodies. They put a big heap of stones around him, and they are still there till this day. And that is why this place is called Treble Valley. Then the Lord was not angry with his people no more. Okay? So again, follow those commands, be obedient, because first of all, that materialistic stuff that you thought was nice and shiny, this and that could destroy your whole family, quite literally. Okay, and if you think I'm lying, you want to head over to Joshua 7, and if you want to see where Joshua figured out why they were starting to lose war and why the people were starting to get scary, because they was losing God's power, and that's going to be Joshua 7, verse 10 through 26. Moving on. Let me know if you have any questions so far. And we are going to end this a little bit short today, guys, only because the simple fact of I do have a number of things I need to do, and I do got some busy bodies in my background, and I don't want to be too many distractions, but we're going to get through this the best we can, okay? Give me 1 second. I do have to get a quick restroom break, and I'll be right back. All right, guys, I am back. Thank you so much for allowing me that beautiful Christmas break, restroom break. Go ahead and get your snacks. Make sure that you guys have your snuggy wuggies, and we're gonna close this out in just a moment, okay? If you are seeing this beautiful face on your screen, make sure that you double tap that screen, share, follow, head over to my YouTube if you missed anything, if you need to figure out what I'm talking to, what I'm talking about, what I'm referring to, because it's really going to be able to help you. It's really going to be able to help you understand some of the things, the key points, and some of the things that we're going to be discussing today. So again, before our restroom break, we did go over when they started doing their war. They were supposed to destroy a number of items, and instead of them destroying a number of items, there was one bad apple who put his life and his family's life in jeopardy by being materialistic and not destroying the things that were supposed to be destroyed during the times of war, during the times that God had told him to destroy some of those things because they were unclean in the eyes of the Lord. And instead of him doing that, he kept it for himself. And so when Joshua found out, that man was stoned, and so was his family. We are now moving over to Joshua 8, okay? So the Lord said to Joshua, don't be afraid, continue to be brave. He said, take the whole army with you and go attack Ai. Okay, now this time I will give the king and all his people to you, and I will also give you the city and its land. Okay, he said, you must destroy the city and its king as you destroy Jericho and its king. He said, but this time you may take their valuable things and their animals for yourselves. Hide them, hide some of your men behind the city so that they are ready to attack. Now, you guys need to understand why some of the things were burned back in those times when they were being successful in war. Because back in this time before Jesus came, there was a thing called burnt offerings. So, you know, God don't play about how the burnt offerings happens. That's what, remember the priest's son, Aaron's son, he did an inappropriate burnt offering and was immediately unalived. Okay, so this young man, Ashan, he didn't do what he was supposed to do. He was keeping some of the things that were supposed to be a burnt offering for himself. So that's why I'm trying to kind of so you guys understand. Now, if you are just coming in, you want to figure out what I mean by the burnt offerings, you're going to go to part 3, where I go into the book of Leviticus, which is when Moses was still alive, and they started doing different ways of giving God gifts, as well as when they were conquering things, they were to be giving God burnt offerings, a percentage of those offerings as well. And so they would do like a burnt offering, you burn it or whatever. So he said, you must destroy the city as the king destroyed, as you destroyed all of the previous king. Okay, so Joshua and the whole army marched towards Ai. Joshua chose 30,000 of the best soldiers, and he sent them out in the middle of the night. And he said to them, he said, listen carefully. Go and hide behind the city. Stay near. He said, stay near. Be ready to attack. In the morning, I'll march towards the city with the other soldiers. When we get near the city, the enemy's men will come out of the city to fight against us as they did before. Then we'll turn around and we will run away. They will chase us from the city, and they'll say, the Israelites running away from us, as they did before. And we will continue to run away from them. Then you must leave the place you have hidden, go into the city, take it. The Lord your God will give it to you. When you have taken the city, start to burn it and do what the Lord has told you to do. Be sure that you obey the commands. So they finessed the people because of the fact that the previous spies were not protected by God, and they had a sense of fear in their heart because Ashan had disobeyed God, which caused the whole nation to be affected by that. It worked in their favor as a technique that Joshua used to conquer this city that they're in. Are you following me? Does that make sense? Okay. So Joshua had already sent about 5,000 men to hide on the west side of the city between Bethel and Ai. And the Lord said to Joshua, hold the spear that's in your hand, pointed towards Ai, and I'm now going to give you the city. So Joshua held his spear towards Ai. As soon as he did that, the men were hiding behind the city, came out quickly. They ran into the city and they took it, and immediately they used fire to burn it. The men of Ai looked behind them and saw the smoke in the sky above. They could do nothing to escape. The Israelites who had been running away from them now turned around to fight them. And Joshua and his army also saw the smoke, and they knew that the other group of soldiers had taken the city. So they turned around and began to attack the men of Ai. So that was a real good technique. I said, okay, Joshua. I said, okay. Do your big one. Do your big one, friend. Because Joshua, that was a very, very good technique to use. Because they thought the Israelites was scary. And they thought they was running them about the city. But in all reality, they was getting ran about the city themselves. They trolled themselves. You played yourself. Thank you so much for coming in. If you see this beautiful face, double tap that screen. Like, share. Mess with me, and I'll mess with you. If you bless me, the Lord will surely bless you. Let's get into this word. We're gonna be ending this out in just a moment. I don't want to take up too much of y'all time, but I am happy that you came in, and let's go ahead and get into some tea, child. Now, when Joshua was holding up that spear to the sky so that the Israelites could start winning this new war, it's a very great symbolism. That's some ism for you if you don't know where they got it from. Y'all remember that's what Moses had to do with his stick when they was fighting in war to get to where they're at now before they crossed the Jordan River. And Moses, he was so old, he was so tired at some point that Aaron and his other friend had us at some point help him hold it up because his arm was starting to get tired. Okay, so Joshua pretty much was doing the same thing, but he was using a spear. Okay, so that's some ism for you if you guys missed that little nugget. So as soon as he did this, the men who were hiding behind the city, they came out quickly. And so boom, next thing you know, they start winning war. The men that was running turned around, started whooping tail. Okay, so the Israelites unalived all the men who had lived in Ai. They unalived them when they chased them towards the desert. The Israelite soldiers went back to Ai and they unalived everyone there. All the people of Ai unalived on that day. That was a total of 12,000 men and women. Joshua continued to point his spear at Ai until his army had unalived every person who lived there. Okay, but the Israelites took the valuable things and the animals for themselves. That was what the Lord had told Joshua. Okay, so this time they were able to have the nice things for themselves. They didn't have to burn it this time, and they were immediately rewarded after this defeat. Joshua burned the city and he broke down its walls. It is still like that today. He hanged up his clothes and he unalived the king Ai on a tree, and he left his body there until evening. And at sunset, Joshua told his men to cut down the body. He threw it on the ground on the outside of the city's gate. They covered it with a heap of stones, and those stones are still there today. Okay, So again, if you guys want to know how Joshua used a really, really skilled technique on destroying Ai, you're going to go through Joshua 8, read the whole thing, 1 through 24. So now, after they were able to conquer this new city that they conquered, this is also a new battle that they have won. At this point, the Israelites are now undefeated, even during their ups and downs, even though they have had a number of mistakes that some of them have made. They were still successful in this war. And so again, for those of you that have served in the war or related to anyone that served in the war, I want to give you guys this moment to say thank you, thank you, thank you for your service. And we don't admire you guys verbally enough. So I do want to tell you guys that. And also, we want to go ahead and give Joshua his flowers, one of our former ancestors who did his big one yet again. Okay? So I told y'all it get better and better. Joshua was not playing, friends. Joshua went over there and did his big one. He was whooping. He had his tennis shoes on and he was squabbling. But again, in order for him to be able to use the Lord's power, he had to hold his arm with that spear in the sky the entire time during this war. That was one of the techniques and also one of the commands of the Lord that Joshua had to follow the entire time during conquering this city Ai. Okay? So now that they done got through that part, and now that they have did their big one, and everybody is winning, and they put their dukes up, and they was dragging and dog walking and turning everything into ashes. Joshua read God's law to the people, and he built an altar on Mount Ebal to worship the Lord, Israel's great God. So again, guys, during these travels, if you're just coming in, it's just like with Abraham when Abraham was doing his big one, even when he was dealing with his baby mama drama. During these times when he was doing his big one, he always made sure that in each city, in each places, that they were building altars for God and were worshiping God for their victory. So make sure that you get on your knees and call on Jesus. Okay, every time you receive something good, and even when you go through the struggle, you want to give God a place of worship at all times. Okay, guys, that's that old school ism. You're welcome. So again, Joshua read out aloud every command that Moses had written, and he read it to all the Israelite people, the women, the children, and the foreign people who lived with them also. So now the people that like the prostitute girl Rahab, she was also a part of their people now, and so she too was had to follow them commands and go and get down with the get down as well as a foreigner. And if you guys want to get that tea, that's going to be Joshua 8. Any questions so far? And I really like this story with Joshua because the simple fact of it shows you just how powerful he was and then how strong and confident he was in God and how great of a leader he was when it came to his technique and to leading the Israelites into victory when it came to war. He was very, very strategic and very wise on how to move about that because he was mentored by the prophet Moses himself. So my bad, Joshua, because I did say I didn't know if you was gonna give. I didn't know. My bad, Joshua. I didn't know you was gonna eat, friend. I didn't know, and that's why I say don't judge a book by its cover, because he might have been young, and he might not be Moses, but it's definitely given. It's definitely given what it needs to give, what it needs to be given. Okay, so it definitely is given what needs to be given. So people of the Gibeon deceived Joshua. So now they moving on to Gibeon to go take their stuff too. But Joshua, he's a clever man, but he's also a man of the Lord, and he was deceived and manipulated and finessed. Almost finessed. Almost finessed. They trove themselves. Okay, so all the kings who lived in the West Jordan River heard about what happened at sorry. They were the kings who ruled the hill country in the low hills west and all the coast of the Mediterranean Sea as far as Lebanon. Now, they were the kings of the Hittites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites. I'm sorry, I can't say these names. Anyway, they joined together to fight against Joshua and the Israelites. So they had a clever idea. They said some of the men took old bags of food, broken bags of wine, and holes in them. Okay. And they put these things on their donkeys. They wore old shoes on their feet, and they dressed themselves in old clothes. And they took some bread that was old and dry. Okay. Y'all come here. Okay, so they took some bread that was old and dry. I said, what they trying to make themselves look homeless for? So Joshua, when they finally approached Joshua was like, who are these people? You know? And so they said, if you agree to help us, we will become your servants. Joshua asked them, who are you? Where y'all from? And they said, we're your servants. We come from a country that's very far away. We heard about the Lord, who is your God, and we heard all about the things that he did in Egypt. They said, we also heard about the things you did to the two kings, and they ruled cities of Jordan and Shion and all of those other kings that y'all conquered and everything like that. They said, our leaders and all our people told us to come meet you. Our leaders said, take food and drink for your journey. Go and meet them. And they said, we want to be your servants. And please promise not to fight against us. That's what they said. That's what they said. They made it seem like, oh, we came from super far away and we really ain't got much of nothing. We just want to come and serve you and wooty wooty woo. Lying. Lying to Joshua. Okay? Thank you. Lying. Okay? So Joshua, I'm like, what he gonna do? Can Joshua sense that they're lying? You know? So Joshua agreed. He said that they will not unalive the people. Okay. The Israelite leaders also said that they would obey that agreement. So 3 days after they made this agreement, the Israelites discovered that the people from Gibeon lived near them. Okay, so the Israelites left Gilgal to find the cities where they lived, and after 3 days, as they arrived in the cities, the Israelites did not attack them because of the promise that their leaders had already made. He said they had made a strong promise in the name of the Lord God of Israel, and they would not unalive those people because they already made that promise. And they know that. They know that when you are a child of God and you say you're going to do something, you have to stick to your word. It's a commandment. Okay? So they thought that they was going to do their big one. and get away from being attacked. So Joshua called them out. He was like, so why y'all sit up there and tell that bald-faced lie talking about y'all live far away, but really y'all don't even live far. Y'all live right around the corner. And because you told lies, you'll always have to be our servants. We'll cut the wood and you will carry water to serve our God. And so they was like, well, we heard about the command that your Lord, your God, given us, his servants Moses, and he said, we know that he told Moses to take a hold of our land and go live in it, and y'all must unalive all of everybody, and because of that, we were afraid. So we came over here lying, acting like we weren't from there. So Joshua agreed. He said, you know what? He said, I'm not going to let the Israelites unalive your people, but instead, they made the people from Gibeon become servants, and they had to. And so Joshua agreed. He was like, y'all ain't going to lie them, but they definitely finna be servants. So that's how they became servants, okay? And if you guys want to get that ism, you're going to head over to Joshua 9 on how they thought they was finna lie in that man's face, and that man was not the 1, 2, or 3. And he told them what it is and what it ain't. Wake that up. Clock it. Okay. So now we get into where 5 of the Amorite kings attack Gibeon. Okay. So the king of Jerusalem was called Adoni Zedek. He heard how Joshua had taken Ai city, and he also taken Jericho city, and he heard that Joshua had destroyed those cities and their kings, and he also heard that the Israelites made an agreement with the people from Gibeon, and they promised that they would not attack the Gibeon, and he knew that the Gibeon people now lived among the Israelites. So what you think he did? He's like, well, we ain't gonna mess with the Israelites, but we'll mess with their servants. Okay, so 5 of the Amorites kings and their armies met together. Okay, and they started figuring out how they was going to try to attack what are now Joshua and the Israelites servants technically. So Joshua took his whole army and they marched from Gilgal, and he had all his best soldiers with him. The Lord said to Joshua, don't be afraid. I will cause you to win against their enemies, and they will not be strong enough to fight against you. So the Lord caused the Israelites to win against the Amorites. After the battle that day, Joshua stood in front of the Israel people and he prayed to the Lord, and he said, sun, stand still over the Gibeon city. Moon, stand still over Ajalon Valley. So the sun stood still and the moon stopped moving across the sky. They stayed till while the Israelites punished their enemies. People wrote about this in Scroll of Jashar. The sun stopped in the middle of the sky, and it did not go down for a whole day. A day that had never happened before, and this has not happened since. The Lord answered the prayer of a man in such a great way. The Lord himself was fighting the battle on behalf of the Israelites. Then Joshua and all the Israel army went back to their tents in Gilgal. And Gilgal. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Y'all go ahead over there and read it yourself and figure out how to pronounce it. I ain't your mama. But yeah, so Joshua, he had did one of the greatest miracles at this time, which is one of the most courageous, beautiful miracles by praying to control movement with the sun and the moon. Now he was giving profit. The 5 kings that had run away from Israel, the 5 kings that came to attack them, they had ran away from the Israelite soldiers. They had hidden in the cave in Makkedah. Joshua heard that they were where they were hiding, and he said to his men, "Take some big stones and cover the front of the cave, but put some men there to watch the cave. But you must continue to chase after your enemies. Do not stop now. Catch them. Do not let them reach their cities where they will be safe. Remember that the Lord your God has caused you to win against them." So Joshua and the Israelites destroyed nearly all the Amorite armies, but a few of the Amorites escaped and they reached their strong cities. So then the Israelite army returned to Joshua at Makkedah. All the people in the land were too afraid to speak against the Israelites. Then Joshua said to these men, "Take away those stones and open up the cave where the 5 kings are. Bring them out here to me." I said, uh-oh. Y'all fit to get brought out to Joshua. I said, what he finna do? What he finna do when they come up out that cave? Because you know what he did to Ashan for stealing all that gold and stuff. You know what he did to him. Child. So they brought the 5 kings to Joshua. Then where the kings of Jerusalem, Herban, Jerah, Lashes, and Eglon. Okay, when they went, they brought the kings to Joshua. He called to the men of Israel to meet there. He said to the officers of his army, "Put your feet on the necks of these kings." And they did as he told them. He literally had his soldiers put their foot on their neck. Literally. Wake that up. Clock it. Joshua did not come to play. Y'all thought I lied? I did not lie. I did not lie, and I got receipts. He literally had their feet on their neck. The kings. The 5 kings. Not even just one. 5 of them. Friend, don't piss me off. I said, ooh. No. Go ahead. So when they brought the kings to Joshua, he called them in and he told his soldiers to put their feet on their neck. I said, what are you going to do? So Joshua said to them, don't be afraid. Be very strong and brave. He said, look at these kings. This is what the Lord will do to all your enemies that will fight against. I said, what are you going to do to them? Y'all, I'm scared. Y'all, I'm so scared. What is Joshua going to do to these kings that came to attack them and they thought that it was hiding? They were not hiding. Oh my gosh. He had their foot on their neck. What are you going to do to him? Joshua said to the people, he said, y'all don't be afraid. He said, that's what happens to enemies. Joshua unalived the 5 kings with his sword. With his sword, friend. With his sword. He said, and then not only that, he hung up his clothes and their bodies on 5 trees. And they remained there until the evening time. He hung them up. He hung them up. At sunset, Joshua told his men to take the kings down from the trees. They threw them into a cave where they was hiding in the first place. And they put big stones over the front of the cave, and the stones are still there to this day. To this day. Oh my God, Joshua was not playing, y'all. He was not playing. I am scared of Joshua. I am scared of Joshua. Y'all, for real. Then Joshua attacked the other cities and he take them too. He's that day Joshua attacked Medica. He took it together with his king. He destroyed everyone who lived in it, and he did not leave anyone alive. And he did the same thing to the king of Medica, and as he did to the king of Jericho. After that, Joshua and his army marched to Medica to Libnah. They attacked the Libnah city, did the same thing to Libnah. Then they went to Lachish, 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 did the same thing to them. Listen, Joshua was going back to back with a spear and a sword, back to back, doing the same thing, putting their bodies up on the tree until the end of the day. He did it to Eglon, to Hebron. He did it to Debir. He was just city after city after city on the way to Canaan. City after city after city on the way to Canaan. Putting them up on display until nightfall. I said, I know you lying. So Joshua did not come to play, guys. And I just want to let you guys know, first and foremost, when I did a quick sneak peek just to kind of get prepared on what to expect with Joshua and see if it was given what it was given, because y'all know I love my Bible, I love to read the word. I said, oh my Atlanta. Joshua did not, he was not coming to play. I thought Moses was a big homie. This Joshua was the big homie for real. It gave profit. He was knocking king after king after king. Back to back. And this was what gave the people even confidence in him, because he didn't have no back down. And then when he had hung them up and put them in them trees until nightfall, you know, everybody else was talking, trying to run. And then it was even some of them that tried to run. It was even some of them that was trying to hide. You can run and you can hide, but I'm still going to get you. Joshua wasn't coming to play at all. I said he was a scrum, man. Joshua. Yes, Joshua. Okay. And then Joshua 11, it goes into the kings of the north, and it's given basically the same thing. And so we gonna close it out here, but we will be picking up on the story with Joshua. Now, hush. Okay, I can't throw it all on you in one day. That's a lot. That's a lot of tea. But if you want to take some sneak peeks and move on in, we're going to be picking up from Joshua 11, and it will finish up into the tea with Joshua. Obviously, he is one of our best prophets and ancestors from back in the good old days. And his name is basically very similar to Jesus. And, well, basically, it means the same thing as Jesus, which is God saves. And Joshua, he was not that one. And as you can see, he was not that guy. He was nothing to play with. Okay, he was nothing to play with. And God, when he went to crying and getting on that floor, talking about, oh, come on, God, why you got us over here? Why we running for these people? God said, get up off that floor and go figure it out. Get up off that floor and go figure it out. And once he figured it out, not only was that man unalive, but he was unalive by stone, being stoned to unalive. Then he had his foot on the king's necks, literally I ain't never seen nothing like this before. I said, Joshua is a handsome, strong, masculine man. Now, Joshua, that was giving delicious. I said, this is good. I love me a good story about someone doing a big one like this. And y'all comment down below. Y'all tell me how y'all feel so far about Joshua. If it's giving Moses, and is it what we predicted, which is when it comes to the book of the Lord, it do get better and better, ain't it? It do. But before we close out here, guys, in the sake of Black History Month, I definitely want to go into one of our legendary Black History Month folks that did a big one before we close it out. Okay. And y'all comment down below. You guys let me know if you guys have any questions and stuff. Y'all let me know. 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 All right. So, guys, before we head out, I know that the book hold on, let me put you guys on the charger. Y'all always want something. It's y'all. It be the ones that spoil. It be the ones that spoil. Hold on. Let me put them on the charger real quick. Cause they come, they be, oh, we forgot our snacks, and you know what I'm saying. Let me put them on the charger. They get to talking while I'm talking. They act like they don't know who Cassie King is. You want to play for the queen? You can't play with the queen. So let me put them on real quick, guys. There y'all go. Double tap that screen. Don't play with me. But guys, before we head out, okay, I want you guys to go over one of our beautiful kings that made it happen for us during the time of our Black History journey. For those of the times when the Black and browns were not treated as equals to the whites. Okay, we already know that we all look the same on the inside. No, what that's about. God said to love everybody. But we're gonna get into the big famous Malcolm X. So, if you guys don't know who Malcolm X is, he is one of the men back in the good old days who helped the people that were being forced in segregation during the times of being segregated and racism and all of that. And y'all know we don't play that here. Everybody is welcome to the table. No matter who you is, what your sexual preference is, your gender, what you identify as, where you was from, where your mama at, where she ain't at. We let everybody sit at the table, okay? But again, this is Black History Month, and we are going to be ending it out with our Joshua, which is our new leader, leading the Israelites into their victory time and time again. He had his foot on the people's necks. So we are going to pick up the Joshua's story in his journey. And before we do that, I did want to do a quick closing. Before we close, in the name of Black History Month, I just want to touch base and honor one of our Black kings from back in the good old days by the name of Malcolm X. Okay? So, Malcolm X was born Malcolm Little, later called Elijah or El Haj Malik. And he was an African American revolutionary. Okay. He was a Muslim minister and human rights activist who was a prominent figure during the civil rights movement until his assassination in 1965. Okay. My mama wasn't even born yet. Okay. A spokesman for the Nation of Islam until 1964, and he was a vocal advocate for Black empowerment and the promotion of Islam within the African American community. A controversial figure accused of preaching violence, Malcolm X was also a widely celebrated figure within the African American and Muslim communities for his pursuit of racial justice. Thank you, Malcolm. Okay, so Malcolm spent his adolescence living in a series of foster homes with relatives after his father passed away and his mother's hospitalization. So when he was a teenager, he was in foster homes and had to live with relatives and stuff because his mom was hospitalized and his dad had passed away. He committed various crimes, being sentenced to 8 to 10 years in prison in 1946 for burglary and something else. Let me see what this word means. So it's called larceny, which is a crime involving an unlawful taking or theft of personal property of another person's or business. Okay, so that was what he was sentenced to prison for back in the days before he turned his life around, and he was sentenced to 8 to 10 years in 1946. Now, in prison, he joined the Nation of Islam, adopting the name Malcolm X to symbolize his unknown African ancestral surname, while discarding the white slave master name of Little. And after his parole in 1952, he quickly became one of the organization's most influential leaders. He was the public face of the organization for 12 years, guys, advocating Black empowerment and separation of Black and white Americans, and criticizing Martin Luther King Jr., which we will also talk about as well, guys, who was also a really, really great Black activist, and the mainstream civil rights movement for his emphasis on nonviolence and racial integration. So Malcolm X, he viewed Martin Luther King's peaceful way of racial empowerment, and he viewed it in a way where he criticized that for some time. And so he was a little bit different than Martin Luther King on certain standpoints, but the core values were the same. And Malcolm X also expressed pride in some of the nation's social welfare achievements, such as free drug rehabilitation programs. And from the 1950s onward, Malcolm X was subject to surveillance by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, which is the FBI. In 1960s, Malcolm X began to grow disillusioned with the Nation of Islam as well as its leaders, Elijah Muhammad. He subsequently embraced Sunni Islam and the civil rights movement after completing the Hajj to Mecca and to become as El Hajj Malik, which roughly translates to the Pilgrim Malcolm of the Patriarch. After a brief period of travel across Africa, he publicly renounced the Nation of Islam and found the Islamic Muslim MMI and the Pan-African Organization of Afro-American Unity. Throughout 1964, his conflict with the Nation of Islam intensified, and he was repeatedly sent unalived threats. On February 21st, 1965, he was assassinated in New York City. The three nation members were charged with the unaliving, given life since undetermined in sentences. Child, I'm tired. But anyway, in 2021, two of the convictions were vacated. Speculation about the assassination and whether it were conceived or aided by leading or additional members of the nation with law enforcement agencies as he protested for decades. Okay. He was posthumously honored with Malcolm X Day, on which he is commemorated in various cities across the United States. Hundreds of streets and schools in the United States have renamed in his honor, while the Auburn Ballroom, the site of his assassination, was partly re redeveloped in 2005 to accommodate the Malcolm X and Dr. Betty Shabazz Memorial and Education Center. Malcolm X was a very, very influential man, even though he had a background of crime. He still did his best to help people with rehab, get rehab, free rehab. He was an activist on self-defense. He was also an activist on educating people on their true African descent. Even went to Africa himself and relearned some of his own personal habits, and he was taking ownership of that, which was kind of a conflict for some of the Islam associates of his. But his story is definitely moving. And so we definitely want to take a moment today and thank Mr. Malcolm X for all that he has done. And I hope that he is resting in peace. When Malcolm X was 6, his father had passed away. Which was difficult for him as a child during the 1930s. White Seventh-day activists witnessed to the little family. Later on, Louise and her son Wildfire were baptized on the seventh-day active church. Malcolm said to the activists, "We're the friendliest white people that I've ever seen." So now he went from being so not so hard on the white people, because he realized after traveling around the world that they're just as human as anyone else, and there are some of the other colors and other races that are friendly, sweet, and loving people. And so it changed his viewpoint on some of the things that he initially believed and preached about, so to speak. Malcolm attended West Junior High School in Lansing and the Mason High School in Michigan. I can't talk today, guys. But he left high school in 1941 before graduating. He excelled in junior high school, but dropped out of high school after a white teacher told him that practicing law, his aspiration at the time, was no realistic goal for an N-word. Well, she shouldn't have said that. Later, Malcolm X recalled feeling that the white world offered no place for career-oriented black men, regardless of that talent. So that kind of gives you an idea of where he started out as like sticking it to the man on a particular race. But when he started to grow as a man and travel around the world more, and he started to experience that, hey, not all of them are the same, and we're to love everyone. And so it shows you that he was actually able to take ownership of some of the things that were not agreeable to the average person. And then he was also very educated and passionate about being a savior or a hero, or in this case, in law. He wanted to go into law originally. And so That just goes to tell you to watch how you talk to kids, watch how you talk to teenagers, because they may grow up one day and become our next Malcolm X. In this case, Malcolm X was able to renew his thoughts on his original opinion on the white race and everything like that. And he was also able to educate people younger than him that looked up to him in such a positive way. And so we always want to say thank you to Malcolm X for his service to the community. When Malcolm was in prison, he met a fellow convict, Johnny Belbury, a self-educated man who he later described as the first man I have ever seen command total respect with words. So he was his mentor, so to speak, someone he looked up to. And at this time, several of his assemblies wrote to him about the Nation of Islam and relatively new religious movement preaching Black self-reliance and ultimately the return of the African diaspora to Africa. And when they would be free with the white American European domination. Okay, so he started to learn more about where he came from, where he may have originated, and he wanted to also put that on other people that may have been not as educated or just not really as aware of that way of thinking. Okay. So in 1948, Malcolm wrote to Elijah Muhammad, the leader of the Nation of Islam. Muhammad advised him to renounce his past humbly, bow in prayer to God, and promised to never engage in destructive behavior again. And he later recalled the inner struggle and he had before bending his knees to pray. And Malcolm soon became a member of the Nation of Islam, maintaining a regular correspondence with Muhammad. Okay, so he was initiating his leadership behind bars, and that shows you just how powerful he was, despite his past and despite his upbringing, and despite what anyone, including teachers and mentors, told him he could not do. He was able to achieve great things. In 1950, the FBI opened a file on Malcolm after he wrote a letter from prison to the President Harry S. Truman expressing opposition to the Korean War and declaring himself a communist. That year, he also began signing his name Malcolm X. Muhammad instructed his followers to leave their family names behind when they joined the Nation of Islam and use X instead. When the time was right, after he had proven their sincerity, he said he would reveal the Muslims' original name. And in his autobiography, Malcolm explained that the X symbolized the true African family name that he could never know. For me, X replaced the white slave master name, Little. So that kind of goes to explain to you why his name was so unique, where it came from, and what inspired that. From his adoption of the Nation of Islam in 1952 until he broke with it in 1964, Malcolm X promoted the nation's teachings, and these included beliefs that the Black people are the original people of the world, that white people are devils, the demise of the white race is imminent. And so he had a really strong negative look on one race and one positive look on the other race, which he needed to travel around the world to really understand where he was, what it was and what it wasn't, you know. So Malcolm X had equally, and so that was basically what the Nation of Islam was giving. And so he initially joining that nation followed those kind of views until he went out and ventured on his own and realized that white people are really sweet and really nice people just as much as Black people or any other race, you know. And Malcolm X had been equally critical of the civil rights movement. During this period, he denounced Martin Luther King Jr. as a chump, and referred to the other civil rights leaders as stooges of the white establishment, and was strongly against any kind of racial integration. Okay, He called the 1963 March on Washington the farce on Washington, and he said he did not know why so many black people were excited about a demonstration run by whites in front of a statue of a president who has been unalive for 100 years and who didn't like us when he was alive. So as you can see, he had this really, really negative look on one race compared to the other. Obviously, it was influenced by some very understanding reasons, but again, not all people treat people that way. It's just like with certain people how they feel about police and everything like that. Not all cops are bad, and not all white people are bad. Not all black people are bad. For those who have a problem with one race or another, it's just sometimes we have our differences. Regardless of what those differences are, guys, we always want to love each other. Okay. Okay, so another thing that influenced Malcolm X to really switch his viewpoint on how he was influencing his role as a black activist, he also removed himself from being associated with Elijah Muhammad altogether. And there's an actual reason why that I want to expose to you guys as well. So, in the late 1961, there were violent confrontations between the Nation of Islam members and police in South Central Los Angeles. The numerous Muslims were arrested. They were acquitted, but tensions had been raised. Just after midnight on April 27, 1962, two LAPD officers, unprovoked, shoved and beat several Muslims outside of the temple number 27. A large crowd of angry Muslims emerged from the mosque, and the officers attempted to intimidate them. One officer was dismayed. His partner was pew-pewed in the elbow by a third officer. More than 70 backup officers arrived, who then raided the mosque and randomly beat Nation of Islam members. Police officers pew-pewed 7 Muslims, including William X. Rogers, who was hit in the back and paralyzed for life. Ronald Stokes, a Korean War veteran, who was pew-pewed from behind while raising his hands over his head to surrender, unaliving him. A number of Muslims were indicated after the event. No charges were laid against the police. The coroner ruled that Stokes' unaliving was justified. To Malcolm X, the discretion of the mosque and associated violence demanded action, and he used what Louis Franklin, later called gangster-like past, to rally more hardened of the Nation Islam members to take violent revenge against the police. Malcolm X sought Elijah Muhammad's approval, which was denied. Stunning Malcolm X was again blocked by Elijah Muhammad when he spoke of the Nation of Islam starting to work with civil rights organizations, local black politicians, and religious groups. Louis X saw this as an important turning point in deteriorating relationship between Malcolm X and Muhammad. So, because of all those things happened to those Muslims, between the Popo and the Muslims, Malcolm X was like, yo, we need to do something about this. And they was like, nah, we're not going to do it that way. And so Malcolm X was like, what? And so then you kind of start seeing that his initiation was starting to deteriorate. Rumors were circulating that Muhammad was conducting extramarital affairs with young nation secretaries, which would constitute a serious violation of nation's teachings. After first discontinuing the rumors, Malcolm X came to believe them after he spoke with Muhammad's son, Wallace, and with the girls making the accusations. Malcolm confirmed the rumors in 1963, attempting to justify his behavior by referring to precedents set by biblical prophets. Okay. Over a series of national TV interviews between 1964 and 1965, Malcolm X provided testimony of his investigation, corroboration, and confirmed by Elijah Muhammad himself of multiple counts of child R word. During this investigation, he learned that 7 of the 8 girls had become pregnant as a result of this. He also revealed an assassination attempt made on his life through a discovered explosive device in his car, as well as the unaliving threats he was receiving in response to his exposure to Elijah Muhammad. On December 1, 1963, he asked to comment on the assassination of John F. Kennedy. Malcolm X said that it was a case of chickens coming home to roost. He added, "Chickens coming home to roost never did make me sad. They've always made me glad." Likewise, according to the New York Times. The remarks prompted widespread public outcry. The Nation of Islam, which has sent a message of condolence to Kennedy's family and ordered his ministers not to comment on this assassination, publicly censored their former shining star. Malcolm X retained his post and rank as a minister, but was prohibited from public speaking for 90 days. Malcolm X had now become a media favorite, and some nations' members believed that he was a threat to Elijah Muhammad's leadership. Publishers had shown interest in Malcolm X's autobiography when Louis Lamax wrote his 1963 book about the nation. When the World is Given, he used a photograph of Malcolm X on the cover. He also reproduced 5 of his speeches, but featured only one of Muhammad's, which greatly upset Muhammad and made him envious. Okay. So that is Malcolm X's story. If you guys want to get into detail on how he was becoming so powerful that even his mentor was upset with it because of the fact that he was getting more famous or more powerful, so to speak, than the guy that was above him. So that caused the feud. And the reason why he was becoming so famous at his time was because of his honesty, basically how he felt. He said how he felt. He kept it real on how he felt, and he was also willing to adjust his views based on his life experiences. But he did give a lot of people hope, and he also gave a lot of people the ability to get closer to God, based off of his belief system and religious and everything like that. And he also was very confident with the way that he viewed things, which also made other people under him feel confident with their viewpoints. He believed in self-defense. He believed that doing things the peaceful way. At first, he was like, we don't want to do things the peaceful way. If they come at us with aggression, then we need to come at them with aggression, you know. And so that is Malcolm X's story. He was definitely a tricky person to understand. So if you guys want to get into Malcolm X T and see why he was such an amazing person during this Black History Month, go on ahead and head over to his information. Just go on ahead and search up his name. That's going to be Malcolm and the letter X. Okay. So again, he has movies made about him and everything like that. That's tea for me. That ain't true. they also try to give him, there are some claims of his sexuality, regardless of what his sexual preference is. I don't find any importance of what a grown person does in their bedroom. I don't find that important at all. That's their business. That's between them, their partner or partners, and the Lord. Okay. So I definitely don't want to go into that. I believe that's a sensitive topic, especially we want to respect the dead. But there's a lot of memorial and tributes made for him. He definitely was a handsome man, in my opinion. And so I definitely believe that his story and his viewpoints, it goes from him being like so hard on his views, like this person is evil and this person is better than this person, to traveling around the world. And he's like, no, there's actually really, really nice people that I said were evil. There's really, really nice white people. There's really, really nice cops and things like that. So it's like, oh, you a hypocrite? Not, I'm a hypocrite. Just I actually seen the world and I actually know what I'm talking about, and I now know what it is and what it ain't. And he realized that the life that we are living in today's time, they want us to be segregated. They want us to hate each other. And there are some bad people. Yes, we're not gonna take that away from them, but there are some really, really great people that look just like those bad people on the outside. You just never know. And so that's why you have to love each other. That's why you have to get into your book. That's why you have to obey God's commands and stay on your P's and Q's, because you never know if you're going to be the new Malcolm X. You never know if you're going to be the new Moses. Okay? But again, it's your girl, Cassie King, and I am out.